Here we go. All right, everybody, stocks by the numbers. Welcome back. We had a big dip on SMCI. Everyone saw that the deadline was today. The stock was running, as we saw, up into, let's go back and check. We ran up again right to this trend line that we spoke about. Basically, the low 66s we began to reject. Obviously, today, NASDAQ took a hit, closing down about 1.25%. A lot of tech names across the board were down. We chunked down. We had Tesla dropping, AMD, obviously, Rivian, Palantir, all of them. And SMCI, as you see, dropped down and closed to about 45.5, down 6 points, almost a 12% drop going into this deadline. Half the people thinking that they're going to file, there's going to be no problem. The other half thinking the company's up shit's creek without a paddle and we're screwed. Stock's going back to 17 or wherever it was. And of course, the company did happen to file, and you can see the stock moving after hours now, rebounding about 8.5 points up to about $54, approaching this trend line I have here of about 55.40, and stock right now up 18.5%. Obviously, this is positive news. Let's get into what they actually reported here. So, net sales almost 15 billion, an increase of 110% compared to 2023, driven by strong demand for GPU-based rack scale solutions. Gross profit a little over 2 billion with a gross margin of 13.8%, down from 18% in 23 due to competitive pricing strategies and changes in product and customer mix. Income from operations 1.2 billion, reflecting a decrease in operating margin to 8.1% from 10.7% in fiscal year 23. So I understand gross profit margin, operating margin technically down a little bit. In my opinion, really not a big issue at all. You guys already know how I feel about this one. Net income about 1.1 billion, up from 640 million in 23, almost doubling there as well, primarily due to higher net sales despite lower gross margin and higher operating expenses. Income per share, basic 207 was 121 last year, diluted EPS 192 last year, $1.14. Just phenomenal growth here. And again, we saw that the guidance was going to be what they say, like 26 to 28 billion. And now looking ahead in 2026, they're looking to hit that $40 billion revenue mark. So the demand is there, the growth is there. And in my opinion now, after filing this 10K, I know they still have like the DOJ subpoena and whatnot. So who knows? I mean, we may still potentially get some negative news headlines on the horizon. But overall, right now, a lot of the concerns have been put to rest that people were worried about. When are they going to release earnings? Are they going to file the 10K in time? And we see that we have jumped those hurdles. So I appreciate the fact if you're still a little iffy, because I understand there is still some potential negatives on the horizon. But even conservatively, in my opinion, even if we retrace this, as I said, back to like 70, 80, 100, it really should be a layup. It really shouldn't be an issue. And even if you have to hold over the longer term and you waited for today to see the 10K before you stepped in, again, the stock's sitting here, what, 53, 55. So even if you buy here, let's say between 55, 60, if the company is able to rebound back up to even previous highs, we know that's around 120. So you'd still be looking at a potential 100% profit, even if you didn't buy near the bottom. So that's why I stayed with this one as well, because I felt they beat it up so much that it's now gotten to the point where you can almost buy at any time. And in my opinion, you should see profits. But of course, we know nothing's guaranteed. Whatever you do with this information is entirely your own prerogative. It's just my opinion. Percentage of net sales represented by server and storage systems increased to 94.6% compared to 92.2% in 23 and 85.9% in 22. Subsystems and accessories accounted for 5.4% of net sales. Net sales in the U.S. increased by 110.7%, driven by demand for GPU servers, rack scale solutions. Asia saw a 177% increase, particularly in Singapore and Taiwan, while Europe experienced a 29% increase with significant growth in Germany. We know Germany has probably, in my eyes, one of the best, if not the best, economy out of Europe. Sales units, increase in net sales was primarily due to strong demand for GPU-based rack scale solutions, including liquid-cooled and air-cooled servers, which are generally more complex and of higher value. The company delivered a comprehensive portfolio of AI solutions, including products supporting NVIDIA Hopper, and Blackwell platforms, expanded liquid cooling offerings, and introduced over 100 products supporting Intel's new processors and AMD EPYC series processors. Company is expanding its manufacturing capacity with a new facility in Malaysia and increasing capacity at existing sites in Silicon Valley, Taiwan, and the Netherlands. The company anticipates continued growth in the AI market, which we know, which will drive demand for additional data center capabilities and liquid cooling solutions. Again, as they laid out in previous articles, they're talking about all new data center servers coming online, right? They were saying that like 30% of them were going to use their products, right? So this is why we were saying that SMCI was going to be one of the main players in the AI space. And as we said, they upped the guidance, a couple of quarters back. The stock started climbing from 300 to 500 to 800. They got listed on the S&P, ran up to 1200. We start consolidating. And then as the rest of the market and the AI and the tech sector kept growing, that's when all of a sudden everyone started raising red flags about SMCI. And of course, we know the Hindenburg short seller research report came out, and then we found out that they were more than likely pumping out research reports to drive down the price of the stock so their friends at other funds could step in and take positions into those stocks. So, in my eyes, Hindenburg is more at fault than SMCI probably can ever be, but I don't even want to get into that right now. Long story short, again, we know that the demand is there. And we see the way that this company is really chunking up their guidance for future revenue. So, in my opinion, this is just going to take some patience. Yes, it's a trader stock. Now it's on everyone's radar over what happened over the last several months. So you may have to deal with some nonsense. Maybe the stock will randomly sell off for a couple of days because the MACD just crossed. The RSI approaches 74, so all the traders jump in and buy puts. So in the short term, it will absolutely remain volatile. In the long term, in my opinion, my personal price target still stands at well over $200 a share. Initiatives. The company has enhanced its liquidity by securing and expanding several credit facilities, including a $50 million facility with HSBC, increasing CTBC bank credit lines from $105 million to $185 million, renewing a $50 million credit agreement with Megabank, and establishing a $60 million import and export trade facility with Esun Bank. New credit facilities were also established with Changhua Bank and First Commercial Bank. Because the better the fundamentals are, the more debt, the more credit you receive. Which is why, in my opinion, fundamentals are king. The company issued 1.7 aggregate principal amount, 2029 convertible bonds, completed public offerings of 24.1 million shares, 20 million shares common stock, raising approximately $582.8 million and $1.73 billion, respectively. Proceeds are intended to support operations, including working capital needs and R&D investments. I have a feeling that bigger and better things are coming on the horizon. Company prepaid and terminated several credit facilities to streamline its debt structure and completed a 10-for-1 forward stock split to enhance share liquidity. Future capex for fiscal 25 are anticipated to be in the range of $140 to $150 million, focusing on global manufacturing capabilities, IT investments, and facilities upgrades. The company plans to continue evaluating financing options to support business growth and is monitoring the impact of global tax changes on its financial position. We talk about risks. We lay out all the risks. Okay. But yeah, obviously, again, those figures, seeing those numbers up, 80, 90, 110, 120%, I mean, that is just absolutely insane. So, in my opinion, again, even going back to the highs, 120, 130, wherever it was, I still think that's undervalued. Again, if we look at the numbers laid out for this year, potentially for 25, we can definitely make the argument that the company's undervalued. If we want to value the stock based on future growth potential, then yeah, 200 plus in my opinion, which again would be over 2,000 a share from pre-split price. Server maker faced the deadline. Yep. Lingering issues. For instance, the company said it received subpoenas from both the DOJ and the SEC pertaining to matters raised in a short seller report from last summer. But again, in my opinion, based off what came to light with Hindenburg, I mean, honestly, the SEC and the DOJ should throw that in the trash, but I mean, they're probably going to follow through with it, unfortunately. So that's why I'm saying, again, we may hear about some potential negatives on the horizon. We might get hit with a fine. Just putting that out there. Definitely something to keep in mind. But the company also disclosed various lawsuits, which it thinks are meritless. The company will also be looking to hit its $40 billion revenue target for fiscal 26, a goal that some see as ambitious, but that management sees as reflective of the company's big opportunity to capitalize on NVIDIA Corporation's new Blackwell platform. That would be up from the $23.5 billion to $25 billion revenue target that Supermicro has for its current fiscal year. Okay, so yeah, hopefully 25 billion for 2025. And then we're going to chunk up to potentially in the ballpark, again, even if it's close, potentially in the ballpark of 40 billion. That is phenomenal percentage growth year over year. So that's why, again, in my eyes, the stock will have to follow suit as those numbers start chunking up. Just my opinion, nothing's guaranteed. Tuesday announcement, latest chapter. For one, the company began to see more competition in its business. Sure. Also started to face heavy scrutiny over financials. Of course, we bring up the auditor again. Independent. Yeah, well, I mean, anytime anyone does an independent, investigation, who comes out and says, oh, you know what? You were right. We did do some shady crap. That committee also recommended a new CFO. Okay. So, stock running as we speak, getting up to and above other trend lines that we were looking at right now as we're reading, approaching $56 a share, approaching that trend line. So let's back out and see exactly what's going on. So as you see, I mentioned early in the AM that we could potentially see the gap fill here, right? Because we gapped up just a couple of days ago. And you can see the high was 48.18, but of course the NASDAQ was under pressure and a lot of people may have sold their position and maybe secured profits from here, not knowing if it was guaranteed today, right, with the filing. But you can see the stock now right here, 56.08. We just got above this trend line now, which means technically we should retrace back to the previous highs that the stock ran up to of about this 66 and change trend line. And then, yes, in my opinion, it should now break up and break through, and the next level should be like here, like 82, 85. That's what I laid out, if you recall, maybe a couple of videos ago. I was speaking that if we do break up and break out, we're going to potentially run into like that $82, $85 range back here. You can see the tightening and the consolidation taking place in those 80s. So that's probably where it's going to go before it maybe pauses for a little bit and tries to run back up to 100 plus, back to those highs. But let's check stock charts. Let's see what it's showing us here. So going into the close, RSI on the daily was about 54.5. We dropped the stock down here. Now, obviously, we're up here, so we're back above the 200-day moving average. Top Bollinger Band 62.84, so that's probably the next stop. You can see the MACD started to drop and curl downward in the last couple of red days, but didn't get anywhere near crossing, and now, of course, is going to bounce back to the upside. So you may see another kind of parabolic, kind of straight up move on the MACD like that over the next several days now, with this filing coming in on the deadline. RSI on the weekly time frame was a little below 52, so that's kind of middle of the road. We're going to pop up here, stock 55.44. So we're above the top Bollinger Band on the weekly, and now the 50-day moving average of about 57.5 should be really the next stop. And then again, it should get back to the mid-high 60s, in my opinion, no problem. MACD climbing on the weekly. didn't even really curl and start to flatten out because, again, the sell-off really just happened over the last like 3 days. So now you're going to start to see the curl back upward again, in my opinion. Let's check the pivot points real quick. Pivot point 57.83, slightly higher than our 50-day moving average. We look like we're at 55. Yeah, you can see it popped up, got to that fib just now of 57. Look, it comes down. It's dancing around a little bit in between the trend lines, but it looks like it's going to do this. So that's why you could probably see 59.60 realistically soon. And again, it really should in the next day or two. It really should get back up to 66. But anything can happen. We know that. The daily. Yeah, well, we're above all of these support. We're above all of these pivot points here. But wait, let me see here. What is this? 54. Yeah, we're above that. What was this back here? 59.20. So that might be where it stops. 59.20, which you can see actually. We opened here on this candle at 59.04, so we might run up to 59 and then stop, which, as you see, is a fib level right here, the 0.68. So of course we know there's still what, almost 2.5 hours to go in extended hours trading, so we know that this one could keep popping and dropping. But overall, I mean, this is the news that a lot of people were waiting for. This, again, puts a lot of concerns to rest for shareholders. This puts a lot of concerns to rest for people who were just watching the stock. And they were waiting to see, okay, are they going to mess this up or are they going to file on time and is everything going to be all right? Now we can see again, they gave us that business update, whatever it was, a week and a half ago. And now we have the 10K coming in before the deadline. So we're staying on the NASDAQ for the time being. Boom. A lot of concerns put to rest, right? So now you're going to have potentially big volume coming in now tomorrow for investors saying, listen, I know, the DOJ probe and all that stuff, and we can still hear some stuff, but look at the growth, look at the demand that they're forecasting, look at the revenue that they're looking to bring in over the next 1 to 2 years. So even if I buy it here in the 50s and it spikes and drops, chances are over the next 8 months, 12 months, 18 months, the stock is going to get back to 100, 120, hit new highs 150, right? That's the way a lot of people, in my opinion, are now looking at SMCI. So you can see the volume started to chunk in right away when the report was filed. And I think that we see a tremendous amount of volume tomorrow. And you're going to potentially see a triple on that volume. I'm actually curious to see. You might see a couple of 100 million shares trade hands tomorrow. So let's see what happens. But right now, again, we're hanging out around the trend lines. And I try to post chart updates in the Discord as well. Discord, free for you guys to join. If you want, just request a link in the comments. I'll send you a link. And, I try to post what I can, when I see something happening, or if a stock is retracing above a trend line or something like that. I try to keep everybody involved with everything I'm keeping an eye on. But, yep, we're back above the 20-day moving average now. Currently still remaining bullish. Stock sitting here at about 55.70, seeing a 22.5% run after hours. And I am just glad that everything went swimmingly and we didn't run into any more issues going into this deadline. So I'm glad that the company came through, and I'm happy for all you shareholders. Any of you who obviously stepped in near those lows and you hung on, you gave the company the benefit of the doubt. It's obviously working out beautifully for you right now. So congratulations to all of you. And that's pretty much it. I'll end it there. Once again, Stocks by the Numbers, I want to thank you for stopping by. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please drop it down in the comments section. I'm usually pretty quick to reply. Thumbs up algorithm helps me get more eyes on the channel. And of course, subscribe to the channel. That is our handshake agreement. That is how you help me help you. But more importantly, moving forward, like I always say, I understand that markets are rocky, they're volatile, and they're very uncertain. So I do want to wish all of you success. I hope everyone makes a couple of dollars. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.